Welcome back to Hot Air, your go-to spot for everything LGBTQ plus news, culture, and controversy. I am Joshua Robert, and before we get into it, make sure you're following me on the gram and TikTok at _Hot Air Pod. Submit your listener stories or topic suggestions on my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, and wherever you're listening, rate the podcast. Listen to all of the episodes one by one. Leave a review should you feel so inspired. As I said before, this is literally how the show gets shown to more people. The more that you interact with the podcast, the more new eyes will see it. That's the way the algorithm works. Okay, great, super. Today, we are doing another full-blown LGBTQ plus news roundup. We're covering the latest stories from around the world and some that are a little closer to home. We've got everything from the U.S. Supreme Court potentially revisiting Kim Davis's decade-long crusade against marriage equality, which I've talked about before. Have a little update there. We'll talk about rainbow crosswalks being erased around the country and communities that are fighting back with chalk and paint. We'll head to the chilly north of Canada to my very own hometown of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, which has been forced to cancel Pride events after threats of disruption, reminding us that acceptance is not universal, even in places that people assume are progressive. And we've got a mix of good and the inspiring. The Church of Norway issuing a historic apology to LGBTQ plus folks, Snoop Dogg stepping up with a children's song celebrating queer love, a sobering update on the mental health crisis among LGBTQ plus youth, and exciting news relating to EuroPride 2028. So really, I just told you everything we're going to talk about. So do you even need to listen to the rest of the episode? Yes, of fucking course you do. Otherwise, that's the Cliff Notes version. You want the long version. So buckle up, because we're going to dive right into all the highs, all the lows, all the stories in between that matter most for our community right now. So let's hit it. Part 1. Kim Davis, a little baby update. Let's talk about everyone's least favorite clerk, and by clerk, I mean another C word, Kim Davis. As you know, somehow she is back in the headlines. The same woman who refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples in Kentucky nearly 10 years ago is still trying to undo marriage equality. And now, the Supreme Court has officially scheduled a private conference for November 7th. They will decide whether they will even hear the case. But now we have a date, something to kind of hang on to. I will be paying very close attention. So the justices are meeting behind closed doors to determine if Davis's plea to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which is the 2015 ruling that legalized same-sex marriage, will make it onto the court's docket. Now, this does not mean that the Supreme Court is about to roll back marriage equality tomorrow. What it means is they're deciding whether to take the case at all. And I've been waiting to find out, A, if they will take the case, and B, when they're going to decide if they'll take the case. If they decline, the story ends here. Davis loses, the lower court's ruling stands, and we can all move the fuck on. But if they agree to hear it, that's when things get messy. We'd be looking at oral arguments sometime in the spring and a potential ruling by next summer. And given this court's track record of revisiting precedent, Roe v. Wade, cough, cough, it's hard not to be nervous. That was a nervous cough. It's hard not to anticipate that they are going to take this case on and potentially rule in her favor. As we know, if somehow Davis gets her wish, it could open the door for conservative states to challenge marriage equality laws or stop issuing new licenses altogether. The 2022 Respect for Marriage Act would still force states to recognize existing marriages, but the legal and emotional chaos that would follow, absolutely massive. So here's what to watch out for. Who votes to hear the case? It only takes 4 justices. Will we see any public dissents or statements from conservative justices like Thomas or Alito? And how quickly the court responds is very important. We could get an answer as soon as November 10th. If they say no, great. Case closed. If they say yes, get ready for another major legal battle over LGBTQ plus rights in 2026. And if you think we fucking stood up before in 2015, be prepared, everyone, because we will come full force in the masses. I will go to DC. Now, I mean, I don't want this case to be heard. I want them to just be like, nah, but I'm fairly confident that they're going to take this case on. And if they do, I'll be there. So the stakes are high, and once again, queer Americans are left watching the Supreme Court to see whether equality is even a fucking thing that they think that we deserve. And it's clearly up for debate. So stay tuned. I will have updates right after that November 7th conference, whether it's on an episode day or not. I will probably just do an extra little bonus episode. And if you want to get caught up to date on Kim Davis, if for some reason you don't know her story, and the Supreme Court case, as well as Obergefell v. Hodges, I have multiple episodes all about them. An episode specific to Kim Davis. I have an episode with 2 of the plaintiffs of the marriage equality Supreme Court case, Kim and Tammy, so you can learn about how they were a part of Obergefell v. Hodges, and then you can go to the opposite end of the spectrum and learn about Kim Davis and her nasty little ways, wherever you get your podcasts now. Part 2, Erasing Rainbows. Let's talk about something that's been quietly escalating across the country. Rainbow crosswalks, because they're terrifying, and sidewalks, even more terrifying, are being removed. And it's happening faster than most people realize. In Florida, for example, the state has moved to eliminate all non-standard street art on state highways, which includes rainbow crosswalks. Iconic sites like the Miami Beach crosswalk on Ocean Drive have been torn up after the city lost its appeal. And in Orlando, the crosswalk honoring the 49 victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting was painted over overnight. Other cities from Key West to St. Petersburg and West Palm Beach have seen rainbow crossings removed or threatened, with local officials citing safety or state funding rules as justification. State funding. Isn't it costing the state money to remove those and redo construction? Meanwhile, in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott ordered cities and counties to remove rainbow crosswalks, calling them political ideology and threatening to withhold state or federal road funding from anyone who doesn't comply. Being gay or part of the LGBTQ plus fucking rainbow is not political, because there are gay men and women, and I'm sure trans people, who voted for Donald Trump and identify as Republican. So this makes no sense whatsoever. The only reason it's politicized is because now you've made it an ideology that doesn't actually exist. Houston's Montrose crosswalks were taken down under those orders, sparking immediate pushback from residents. And in Dallas, Oak Lawn United Methodist Church responded by painting its front steps in rainbow colors as both a pastoral gesture and a form of protest. And I love that. I'm not a religious person. If you've been listening to this podcast, I do not go to church. I don't believe in the God that a lot of people do. And that is fine with me. And I'm fine with everyone loving Jesus. But I'm so fucking down with the church that stands by LGBTQ plus people. Because if you're going to claim to follow Jesus, he would, if I believed in him, he would be accepting of all, right? And communities are not taking this lying down. In Houston, after the Montrose crosswalk was removed, residents grabbed chalk and spray paint and started drawing rainbow stripes on nearby sidewalks and intersections. In the Heights neighborhood, people chalked a rainbow crosswalk at Harvard and 10th Streets in direct defiance of removal orders. In Florida, after the Pulse crosswalk was painted over, volunteers used chalk to color it back in overnight, refusing to let the symbol disappear. Local advocacy groups have begun distributing rainbow kits with chalk, paint, and stencils to empower people to reclaim the streets visually. I follow Brandon Wolf, who was there on the night of the Pulse nightclub shooting, and he posted something that really surprised me. I'm not sure if surprised is the right word, but he commented that it took officers a very long time to get to the nightclub, to get into the club to save people that evening. It was far too late for many. But they have posted police officers at these crosswalks to arrest anyone who does any kind of chalk rainbow design. So they're ready, they're prepared, they're policing where this memorial was, and they're so ready to pounce because they're told to, they're taking direct orders. They may not believe in or follow this, I was going to say ideology, that's not the right word, but they may not share the same political views as the people that are telling them what to do, but they are arresting people very quickly that are drawing chalk rainbows where the Pulse nightclub shooting memorial rainbow crosswalk used to be. However, it took them, over an hour to show up that evening to even help the queer community. And that is fucked up. Now, all of these efforts might seem small, the chalk, the painting, but they send a very powerful message. You cannot erase community identity by simply painting over it. What's happening in Florida and Texas could easily spread, with other states following suit. But as long as communities continue to reclaim and repopulate these spaces with color, the fight is far from over. Legal battles could emerge too, with cities challenging state overreach on grounds of free speech, equal protection, or municipal authority. The tension between public and private funding also complicates matters, since many of these crosswalks were privately funded or donated, therefore not taking any funding from the state. Therefore, they have no right to paint over it and claim that it took state funding to put it there. It's taking state funding to erase it. Your boy's getting heated. It's been a minute since I've been like this. At the end of the day, this isn't just about paint on the ground. It's a test of whether communities can assert their values in the face of top-down erasure. And it's a reminder that visibility, even in chalk and paint on steps, it matters. Rainbow sidewalks are more than decoration. They are symbols of pride, resilience, and resistance. And as long as people are willing to pick up chalk and brushes, those symbols are not going anywhere. If anything, you're activating us to do more. And now it's time for a little ad break. But don't fast forward, because this is Hot Air's first mid-show ad ever. All right, I have to tell you about something incredible happening right here in San Diego's theater scene. The Point Loma Playhouse has officially taken root in Bankers Hill. That's right, a brand new performance space has bloomed out of what used to be an auto repair warehouse. I mean, if that's not queer level transformation energy, I don't know what is. They've kicked things off with a wild, high-voltage production of Little Shop of Horrors, and the story behind how it came together is pure theater magic. We're talking 13 days to turn a warehouse into a working theater. 13 days. I mean, 13, spooky season, hello, lucky number. The stage, the lights, the seating, all built by the same people that are performing in the show. Over 400 actors auditioned, and now this small but mighty team is serving up a rock and roll spectacle that's equal parts spooky, funny, and heartfelt. But here's the kicker, and there's always a kicker. This isn't just about a show. It's about building permanent space for independent artists in San Diego. The Playhouse's artistic director, Jalen Osborne, who I met the other evening, faced rejection from over 30 venues before finally landing this one. And now the team has turned disbelief into reality. So if you're in San Diego and looking for something bold, loud, and bursting with life this Halloween season, grab dinner at Jimmy Carter's Cafe next door and then head over to Point Loma Playhouse's Little Shop of Horrors. You'll laugh, you'll scream, and you'll probably leave singing. Tickets are limited. I just checked, and almost all of the shows are sold out. And I was told by Jalen that they have to sell out all the shows or they will no longer be able to keep this space as a performance space. So it's the place to be, and there's only a few show dates left. October 24th, 25th, and 26th. That's it. You can get tickets and all the info at pointlomaplayhouse.com and follow on Instagram and Facebook at Point Loma Playhouse. Support local theater because this is the kind of creative grit that keeps San Diego's art scene alive. Now, back to the show. Part 3, Canadian climate. And no, I don't mean the weather. Now we're going to get into a story that is both personal and pressing. It's about a town that I grew up in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. A place that many across Canada or the northern, where are we, North America, might consider a place that has progressive values. But recent events have shown that even in the heart of the country, LGBTQ plus rights are under threat. And I can tell you from growing up there in these smaller towns, I mean, they're not podunk towns, that's my new favorite word, but they're smaller towns. There's a lot of hate. That's why I left. Now, in the past few weeks, several LGBTQ plus events in Kitchener have been canceled following threats of disruption. This isn't just a local issue, it's a reflection of a growing wave of hostility towards the queer community that is happening across Canada. And it's happening in a place that I once called home. Now, you see, there is a pervasive myth that Canada is a utopia for everyone and for LGBTQ plus rights, a land where acceptance and freedom reign, but the reality is far more complex. Across the country, from Ontario to Alberta, and even in my hometown, the LGBTQ plus community is facing increasing challenges, whether it's the removal of rainbow crosswalks in Kitchener or threats to pride events in Calgary. The message is clear. The fight for equality is far from over. And I think it's very easy for me, because I now live in California, to forget that it's like that up there and think that all of this craziness and anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric is only happening here in the country that I live in, but it's also happening in the country I grew up in. And this isn't just about politics or policy, because politics are very different in Canada. It's personal, obviously. These are people that were my friends, my neighbors, my community. And when I see them targeted, when I see their safety and rights jeopardized, it hits home in a way that no headline ever could. When I was scrolling through and this was a major news article, I was like, what? Kitchener, Ontario, they're having like this thing? Like, I'm so out of touch with things that are going on in Canada that I didn't think about it. So let's talk specifically, because I'm on a rant, about what's happening in Kitchener. So there were several LGBTQ plus events that were canceled after organizers received threats of disruption. These events were meant to celebrate identity, foster community, and promote acceptance. Instead, they became targets of hate. And that's where the story takes a turn. The community did not back down. In the face of adversity, they rallied. They organized alternate gatherings. They painted their steps with rainbow colors, and they stood firm in their commitment to inclusivity. This isn't just about Kitchener. It's a microcosm of a larger issue facing Canada. From the removal of rainbow crosswalks in Ontario to the banning of pride flags in schools across the country, the LGBTQ plus community is under siege everywhere. And yet, despite these challenges, there's hope. Communities are coming together, standing up, and fighting back. They're showing that love, acceptance, and pride cannot be erased by threats or intimidation. And I just wonder when these people are going to get the message. You are just pumping us up, and we ain't going anywhere. But we can't do it alone. We need allies. We need support. We need everyone to stand with us, not just when it's convenient, but when it is hard, which is right fucking now, because the fight for equality isn't just about laws. It's about people. It's about ensuring that everyone, regardless of their identity, feels safe, valued, and loved. And I just got emotional saying that. We just want to be. I don't want to feel like the rainbow flag is being taken away because people want us erased. I just want us to just fucking be. Is it so much to ask? I guess it is. It's a lot to ask right now, I suppose. So, reflect on what's happening in Kitchener and across Canada for a second. Let's remember, the fight for LGBTQ plus rights is clearly far from over. It's up to all of us to ensure that love always wins. And it's very, very important to think outside of your little bubble. this moment right here, I think I got emotional because I've been so focused on things happening in the United States. I do hear news stories from around the world, but to realize that people are struggling just as much as I am, or just as much as some of my friends are in a country, and specifically a city that I grew up in, feels very different. So step outside of yourself, think beyond yourself, think about the people in the smaller town that maybe don't have the support and feel threatened or scared or alone. This is a global issue. Let's talk about something now a little bit more positive. Part 4, Church of Norway apology to the LGBTQ plus community. On October 16th, 2025, the Church of Norway issued a formal apology to the LGBTQ plus community for its history of discrimination and harm. Presiding Bishop Olav, I'm just going to leave it at presiding Bishop Olaf, because not even Olaf, it's Olav with a V, because I will butcher the middle and the last name. All right. Olav delivered an apology at the London pub in Oslo, a site previously targeted in a 2022 anti-LGBTQ plus shooting. He acknowledged that church-sanctioned discrimination led some individuals to lose their faith. The Church of Norway's apology is part of a broader trend of religious institutions addressing past wrongs. Similar apologies have been issued by the Church of England, the Methodist Church of Ireland, and the United Church in Canada. However, many of these institutions still maintain restrictions on same-sex marriage, raising questions about the sincerity and impact of these apologies. While some view the apology as a necessary and symbolic step forward, others criticize it as being too late, especially for those who suffered deeply or died during crises like the AIDS epidemic. The apology also raises broader questions about the role of religious institutions in LGBTQ plus rights and the ongoing struggle for full equality. But I would say it does feel a little too late, but then I'm also like, better late than never. At least it's one positive step forward, so I'm kind of here for it. And now the next few stories are going to be a little bit more rapid fire. Not quite as lengthy, but equally as important. Part 5, Snoop Dogg's support for the LGBTQ plus youth. Following previous controversial remarks about LGBTQ plus representation in the film Lightyear, Snoop Dogg has taken a supportive stance by collaborating with GLAAD to celebrate Spirit Day, an event aimed at standing against bullying of LGBTQ plus youth. He released a new children's song titled Love is Love, in partnership with former The Voice contestant Jeremy Belote? I don't watch that show. Sorry. Last names are hard. The song is featured in Snoop's animated YouTube series, Doggyland, where it presents diverse families, including same-sex parents, and emphasizes that love remains constant across all family structures. Snoop highlighted that the song helps address real questions children may have and fosters understanding through music. Though he didn't directly reference his earlier remarks about being uncomfortable with LGBTQ plus characters in Lightyear, he acknowledged the significance of spreading love and acceptance. In his words, partnering with GLAAD was about showing that, I quote, inclusion is powerful and love always wins, end quote. This collaboration marks a notable shift in tone and messaging, aligning the artist publicly with LGBTQ plus advocacy. It also underscores the importance of representation in children's media and the role of public figures in shaping societal attitudes towards LGBTQ plus individuals. And similar to the church's apology, a lot of people are saying, too little, too late. Your PR team is working real hard to put you in a better spotlight, because a lot of people came for him when saying that he went to see Lightyear. I think it was with his grandchild, I want to say. And there is a same-sex lesbian couple, I believe it is, in Lightyear. And the grandchild asked Snoop, can you imagine this? Snoop is probably high as fuck. Asked Snoop, something about this lesbian couple in the movie because they didn't understand it, right? And a child doesn't necessarily understand, but that's what adults are for to help explain to them very simply. Could have just been like, yes, well, sometimes a man loves a man and a woman loves a woman, and a man loves a woman and a woman loves a man. There's all kinds of ways to love. And that's just one of them. Could have been the end of the conversation, but Snoop Dogg came out and was like, I don't know why they have to put these in movies. I'm just going to a movie to relax and like be low key and not have to get in deep conversations with my grandchild and chill out. And like, why do they have to put this on us? Da 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 da. People went off on him. I do believe rightfully so, but I also think, maybe he wasn't prepared to provide that story or provide that lesson to his grandchild. And I look at this new song as maybe he had some important conversations. Maybe what he said was misinterpreted. Maybe it wasn't misinterpreted, but he's changed his mind. Give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. He's Snoop fucking Dogg. I'll take it. Again, any little thing is better than nothing to help us feel a little bit more supported. So I'm kind of here for it. Moving on, back to something depressing. Part 6, worsening mental health crisis among LGBTQ plus youth. A new survey from the Trevor Project indicates that between 2023 and 2025, LGBTQ plus youth reported an increase in anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. The study tracked about 1,700 queer youth over a year and found that more than half experienced anxiety and depression. Transgender and non-binary young people are the most at risk of depression and suicidal ideation. That is according to the study. And that more LGBTQ plus youth are facing pressure to undergo conversion therapy. I talked about conversion therapy on last episode, I believe it was. So you can go listen to that. The findings highlight the urgent need for comprehensive mental health support for LGBTQ plus youth, as well as the importance of creating affirming environments that protect against discrimination and stigma. The study also calls attention to the ongoing challenges faced by transgender and non-binary individuals who continue to experience disproportionately high rates of mental health issues. These findings underscore the critical role of supportive communities, inclusive policies, and accessible mental health resources in addressing the mental health crisis, not just among LGBTQ plus youth, but for everyone. We need better fucking healthcare. We know that. That's not news. But it also is not surprising that the queer community is feeling more anxiety, more depression, more suicidal ideation, more stress, more angst, all the things. Since when? Since Trump. Duh. He is really giving the go-ahead for bigots to just be, and especially removing that special hotline for LGBTQ plus youth, with professionals that are trained to deal specifically with the queer community. So that's a little bit depresso-stresso, but we're going to move on to, again, something a little bit more positive. Part 7, Ireland is set to host EuroPride 2028. Buy your motherfucking plane tickets now, because I'm about to be there. For the first time ever, Ireland will host EuroPride in 2028, with the West Coast cities of Limerick and Clare winning the bid to stage the major European LGBTQ plus event. I'm actually so excited just thinking about that. We got, a few years to get ready, to save our money so we can spend it all. The joint bid from Limerick Pride, Clare, and the Outing Festival secured an overwhelming 70% of the votes at the EuroPride annual conference in Barcelona. Mayor John Moran welcomed the victory, highlighting the region's dedication to equality, inclusivity, and community. Wouldn't that be nice to have a leader who is about equality, inclusivity, and community? Fingies crossed for that one day. The decision to hold EuroPride in Ireland is particularly significant given the country's history. In 2015, Ireland became the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage through popular vote. Hosting EuroPride 2028 is seen as a celebration of that progress and a commitment to continuing the fight for LGBTQ plus rights. The event is expected to attract tens of thousands of visitors and will feature a wide range of cultural, political, and social activities. Social activities, we know where that's going. It also is serving as a platform to address ongoing issues facing the LGBTQ plus community, both in Ireland and globally. And that is good positive, exciting ass news. And that wraps up today's LGBTQ plus news roundup here on Hot Air. From courtrooms and city streets to music studios and international festivals, it is clear that the fight for visibility, safety, and equality is still very much alive. I could have talked about 50 more relevant stories that are making headlines, but there's only so much that I can take, and I think that you can take in one day. Some stories remind us that the work still needs to be done. Some inspire us with acts of resilience and creativity, and some show us that progress is possible when communities come together. And the concern and fear that we may be feeling is an international issue. If there is one thing to take away from today's episode, it's that love, pride, and visibility cannot be erased. Even when governments, institutions, or anyone else tries. They just keep trying. But you keep speaking up, keep showing up, and keep making your mark. Thanks for tuning in to Hot Air. Stay loud, stay proud, and stay unafraid. And I will see you next Tuesday.